Hey guys, Jay Killer, I'm back. Got a couple videos going, and what we're going to work on right now, you see this? This is a 6-jaw buck chuck that I've had sitting around the shop for a couple of years at least, 3 or 4 years at least. And I don't have a backplate for it. It's not a direct mount. It's what they call a through mount. Bolt holes come through the front, or a face mount chuck. And I've got this unfinished cast iron D13 backplate that is just a little bit bigger OD than this. And so what we're going to work on is machining this backplate, fit this chuck, and to put this really nice piece of equipment to use. I've been watching Tom's Ox Tools, Tom Lipton, his videos. He keeps a 6-jaw on his big lathe, pretty much standard equipment. And I've had this one for a while. This is from my Revette. I've had this chuck for a while, I just haven't used it. So we're going to get this backplate machine, we're going to make some chips, and we're going to put this baby to use. So let's move the camera in a little closer so you can get a better look at the chuck and the victim backplate, and then we are going to just chuck it directly into the machine spindle and cut some cast iron. Alright, here's the chuck, nice close-up of the chuck. Again, it's a Buck brand chuck, model 4761. I don't really have any documentation on this, but the chuck is in good shape. It's very smooth. It's ready to be put to use. One of the things I found interesting is that the chuck key is basically a 3/8" ratchet. So it's a 3/8 square, and a 3/8 ratchet works really well for the as the chuck key. It's kind of handy. And it is, get an OD on the thing. Not with that you won't. Hold on a second. Let's get the bigger calipers here. And 7.5 inches, so 7.5 inch diameter chuck here, and that's a good size for this machine. And the backplate we have here, which is an unfinished backplate, and it's a little bit bigger. This is measuring 7.56, and the chuck is measuring 7.51, 7.51.5. So got a little to take off on the OD here. Got a lot to take off on the thickness of this thing. It's 9/9/7. This thing's an inch thick, and the back of this chuck has a recess in it that I'll get a better measurement here. This is not what I'm going to work from, but just roughly 362. So we're going to do the same thing here in this backplate. We're going to cut a 362 boss for a tight fit into this chuck here, and then thin the rest of this up. Probably bring it down to about half this total thickness at the flange, maybe a ½ inch. And once this backplate is machined on the OD and the boss, and and we have a good tight fit in the back of the chuck, then we're going to take it off, we're going to chuck it up in the mill, and we're going to use the bolt hole pattern to lay out the 6 bolts that come through the face of the chuck, and then we will lay out those holes on the back plate, drill them and tap them, and then we'll be good to go. So we're going to make a hell of a mess cutting this much cast iron, but you know, that's what it's all about. So let's get this set up in the lathe and start making some chips. Okay, check out this fit. My lathe carriage is all the way to the headstock, won't go any farther. The unfinished back plate here is, looks like about 3/16 of an inch. It's less than 1/8 of an inch from the cross slide. My 6-inch Starrett hook rule just fits, so that gives you an idea about the space here. Just makes it right there, and the tool is literally right at the back edge, so we can just make this cut without doing any kind of special shenanigans. One thing that this does let me know, however, is that this chuck's gonna just barely clear the cross slide here. When I cut, it'll be close as to whether or not this chuck will actually clear the cross slide, whether or not I'll be able to get the cross slide up under this thing or not. Not a big deal if I can't. Just saying it's going to be really tight as to whether or not it makes that. Anyway, we're ready to go. I'm just going to go ahead and take one cleanup cut across the OD, very light, just cleanup cut across the OD. Then we're going to take a cleanup facing cut across the face, and then we're going to get out the measuring tools and see what we have to work with at that point. Alright, we're set up here. Got some paper towels crammed down here over the ways. Got my feed set up. I think we're feeding at about, what is that? 226, 226. We're feeding about 5 thou. We're going to take this nice and slow. Like I said, just take the very slightest cleanup cut across this OD. Alright, let's see what we got here. Pretty much cleaned up all the way around. It's nice and smooth. A little oil on it there, but it's nice and smooth. Got a nice finish. It was very concentric, so even though it was an unfinished back plate, it was pretty well put together. Now we're going to go ahead and take a facing cut with the same tool and see what we get. Might have to take a couple of passes here on this, so let's get it going. Alright, we just hit that intersection where the face was already cut back a little bit, so our depth of cut basically effectively doubled at that point right there. Alright, we've cut down, we faced off here. We got a real nice finish, just buttery smooth. Same with the OD. Let me move the camera back a little bit. The OD and the face just buttery smooth. We're getting close to our 362 number. So I want to change my tool out and to something that'll cut to a hard shoulder, and then I'm going to go ahead and start cutting in, making the boss that the chuck will ride on, and start cutting in to this diameter to a square shoulder. We're still quite a bit above the target diameter, so I'm just going to go ahead and change the tool out, go to something that'll start cutting to a square shoulder, and then we'll start cutting in and taking off some of this mass and making our central boss that the chuck will ride on. And so let me go ahead and do that. Alright, we've got our tool in place here. We're going to cut up to the hard shoulder. I squared this edge, this cutting edge, with the OD of the faceplate here, of the back plate. So that'll give us, that means we know we're cutting straight in. We're going to cut to a straight 90 degree. We got a lot of material to take off here. Probably I measured into the chuck, and the boss needs to be at least 6/100, and it can go all the way up to well, a little over 700. So somewhere between 600 and 700 is our target dimension. I want to leave as much meat as I can here for my bolt engagement. I'd like to leave at least a ½ inch for my bolt engagement. I've got basically well, I'd like to, but I'm not going to. I've got a little less than an inch to work with, so I'm going to shoot for the minimum dimension on the boss of 0.6, and that'll leave me with 4/100 of an inch for bolt engagement, which is still plenty sufficient for this application. So let's go ahead and get the paper towels back in position and start making lots of cast iron chips. This is going to take a while. Alright, we're coming to the end of the first cut. We're going to be cutting up into that boss and squaring that shoulder off. There we go. Back it up and take another cut. Alright, we're getting down to it. We've made about 7 or 8 cuts. We're measuring the thickness on the faceplate, on the back plate here, of 562, and a depth on the boss of 452. We need to get to at least 600 on this depth here. A little, look right here, I don't know if you can see it, got a little porosity in the casting here, some little pinholes. It's not going to affect the function. Probably clean up here in the next cut. We've got to cut basically another 150 thou off of this face to get our minimum depth here on this boss. That'll be 3 passes. I've been cutting this at 50 thou a pass. Just makes doing the math easy. And like I said, that 150 off of here will probably clean these little pinholes up. So I'll go ahead and fire it back up. And I've been using this brush, chip brush, basically. I just drop it on top of the cutting tool while this is running, and it somewhat minimizes the spray of the cast iron projectiles all over the place. So let me show you how I get that in there. Loosen the cross slide up here. Move us in another 50. Lock my cross slide back down. My carriage back down. And let's get it going here. There, you see it spraying stuff pretty good, and I just dropped this right up there. And that keeps most of the chips, most of this stuff flying, going straight down in the chip pan and not everywhere. So anyway, got 3 more passes to make. Alright, we're coming to the end of our second to last cut. This is our next cut, will be the size on the depth, this thickness here. probably notice here that this little pinhole has opened up to something a little bit bigger than a pinhole. It doesn't come through the back side, and it doesn't appear that it's going to affect the bolt holes, so I'm just going to live with it. Our current thickness here is a 461, and our current depth is 550 on the money, and we were shooting for 600. So let's see, we got 463, so we're going to be right at it. So I'm going to zero the indicator here, and I'm going to march off another 50 thousandths cut right there. Lock my carriage back down, and this last cut here will set this depth here and establish our final thickness on the face plate, on the back plate itself. So let's go ahead and fire it up and make this last cut. Alright, that should be our last cut to depth. The good news is this little cavity in the casting just about cleaned all the way up, so that's good news. I'm not going to worry about cutting that out. Like I said, it's not going to affect the operation. And we're right at 413 on the thickness, and 595. So I'm pretty comfortable with that. I'm gonna let it cool off. It is plenty hot. I gotta get the vacuum cleaner and clean up several pounds of cast iron chips here, and get the chip pan cleaned out. So anyway, I'll be back with you shortly. Okay guys, one of the things, I've got that back plate roughed out, and I'm getting ready to start the, I guess you'd call it the spigot, the boss that goes in the center here. And I don't know if you've noticed, but this is a Adjust-Tru style chuck. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 of these set screws around the chuck, around this portion of the chuck body, that pass through here into this back, and the spigot, the boss that goes in here, those set screws bear against that and can be used to adjust the position of the truck, the chuck radially, to reduce runout. So here's the question that I want answer, opinions, discussion, because I can't really. Buck Chuck still exists. They no longer make this piece right here. They no longer have any documentation on their website for this piece. I can't really find any, solid, I guess you could say, solid gold reference for how much play. Obviously, for normal chuck, I would machine this fit right here for the back plate to be a 1/1000th press fit, which would obviously negate any Adjust-Tru type feature because it's not moving. So how much clearance should there be in here for these set screws to bear against? That is the topic of discussion. This is what I would like the viewers to comment on. Comment, discuss liberally, reference materials if you have them. About the best number I can come up with, I've found numbers online everywhere from 2 thou, which really wouldn't allow much, to 1/8 of an inch, which I'm not interested in either. There's no reason to have that kind of adjustment. This isn't a 4-jaw chuck. I've seen more reasonable estimations in the middle saying 20 thousandths, and I've seen 55 thousandths. Again, how much clearance is needed in here for the adjusting screws to allow adjustment of the chuck. So we're going to leave it at there for the night, and we're going to get some info back from the viewers on what kind of clearance you should be looking at here. I don't own another. If I owned another Adjust-Tru chuck, which I don't, I would take the back plate off and I'd measure it and I'd tell you. But I don't have another one to measure. If anyone else does, wants to provide us some information, I would greatly appreciate it. Again, we'll be finishing this up in the next installment, and we'll be moving forward based on the comments and commentary from the viewers. So y'all have a good evening.